Oh, goodness. Are we live? I think we're live. Oh, yes, we're live. Okay. Hi. I'm right with you. I am with you. In case it's long, you know. Gotta have something to drink. Just in case. I feel like I'm on a marathon or something here. Alright, let's not drink it too fast. Now, here we go. Okay. Hello, everybody. Another Obligated Whisper reading. It is a Friday in February. And, hi. It's me and you together again, live. And I love Arvin. Arvin's not too far from Taft. I almost moved there before I moved here. I found this apartment with a swimming pool. And it had very modern, but I'm glad I'm here. I prefer where I'm at. So hi. I always start each broadcast with a little instrumental, whether it's good or bad. It just doesn't matter. I think we will do our best here. I think we'll get some vibe type sound, you know, like this. And a little what is this called? Melodica, little melodica. You gotta see if you press these, you gotta blow. I don't know. Okay, it's got kind of an accordion sound. We've got a beat going here. Okay. 128. Okay, let's read it. Let's read a joke. How about a joke, huh? Let's read it. A tasteless joke. A newlywed couple checked into a quiet, out-of-the-way lakeside hotel. The clerk and the bellhop winked at each other, smiling in anticipation of the honeymoon antics to come. But lo and behold, in the middle of the night, their first, who but the groom tromps down the stairs fully laden with fishing gear. This happens again on the second and third nights. The clerk and bellhop can contain their curiosity no longer. You're fishing in the middle of the night on your honeymoon? Why aren't you up making love to your wife? The groom looked bewildered. Make love to her? Oh no, she's got gonorrhea. Embarrassed silence. Oh, well, what about anal sex? Oh no, she's got diarrhea. I see. Well, there's oral sex. Oh no, she's got pyorrhea as well. Gonorrhea, diarrhea, and pyorrhea. Why, may I ask, did you marry her? Because she's got worms and I just love to fish. Oh, that's the jokes just don't get much better than that, do they? No way. Christmas is over, but we can always have a Christmas tree, can't we? All right. Where's that in front there? How come you can't see it? I can see it. Okay. Let's read a poem from the Good Poem book. Thought I had one. Here we go. This is by Galway Kinnell. Did you like the melodica? It was lousy playing on the keyboard, but we're just getting warmed up. Give me another life. When one has lived a long time alone, and the hermit thrush calls, and there is an answer, and the bullfrog, head half out of water, utters the cantillations he sang in his first spring, and the snake lowers himself over the threshold and creeps away among the stones. One sees they all live to mate with their kind, and one knows after a long time of solitude, after the many steps taken away from one's kind toward these other kingdoms, the hard prayer inside one's own singing is to come back, if one can, to one's own. A world almost lost in this exile that deepens when one has lived a long time alone. I forgot to plug in my microphone, even though my cell phone has a pretty good mic. This will be interesting to see if there's an improvement when I plug in the mic, which I'm going to do right now. As soon as I find the... Oh, is that it? The attachment. There we go. He said, acting as if he knew where it was going. Here we go. All right, here we go. Plug that in. Bing. There we go. All right, let's see if that on playback later, we'll see if that makes a difference or much of a difference. I have a feeling it won't make too much of a difference because my cell phone is pretty good, but we got our trusty Samson mic here, and getting ready to read more of Obligated Whisper. There's no rush because we're going to do at least an hour, hopefully. I'm in the mood to do at least an hour. And I thought it'd be kind of neat to light a candle this time in the foreground. There, it's nice and safe right there. All right. There's a wastebasket. Oh, yes. Okay. Sorry, I hope I get the instrumentals in the beginning a little tighter and nicer, but it was fun to get the melodica in there, wasn't it? Okay. All right, here we go. Can you see that? Yeah. Now, what we usually do is turn this off after we get our trusty book lamp on. All right. And it'll work. Turn this off. Yeah. I like it moody. I like things kind of darkish. Let's put that with. Alrighty. Okay. Candle and a Christmas tree. I'm trying to find my marking, and okay, well, we left owl tree and cooler and moon tree and rune, trying to save the wag digger girls. Okay, remember that? Okay. Elton Knifefeather was hiking the hoodoo fields with his granddaughter, Blue Jay. He was 74 and she was only 8. She always loved these walks in the mesas and open lands of the wilderness of New Mexico. She loved what she learned both from her own observances and from the wisdom of her father's father. Blue Jay's father had died of cancer only a year before, and her mother, too, was ill with a strain of leukemia. And so Elton and his wife Nellie took it upon themselves to care for little Blue Jay since the onset of her mother Tilly's illness, which sapped her strength stressfully. "You see the way the shadows play tricks with your eyes?" Elton would ask her, always keeping her sense of wonder sparked with the frequent little flames he tossed her way. "The sun, the stones, the shadows all play together as our hours slowly drift by. One moment you will actually believe you see a snake, and yet in the very next moment you see a stick. It's all in the lighting from what Usen wants to let you see, or if he is in a playful mood, he may want to let you think what you see, even though it may not be that thing. And speaking of things that you want to see, I forgot to put the letters on. Hold on. Got to put our letters on. There we go. Okay. That's better. Blue Jay was tall for her age, and her long spider monkey-like leaps and bounds often left Elton winded or just a bit behind on their hikes. Too often he would have to call to her to wait up for him. "Do not leave your grandpapa in the hoodoo shadows," he would laugh. "My imagination might get swept away in these long fingers, and I will get scared. I will get so scared my tongue will be forever silenced. Who will drive you back home then, Blue Jay?" Elton would always carry a light backpack with a lunch with a couple soda cans or bottled water. Having hiked these deserts for decades, he always rediscovered the spots for lunch breaks, having the best views. Little Blue Jay's mind was being imprinted with his stories and a deep appreciation for the natural world. "We are seeing a return to the old ways, little Blue Jay," he told her on this late morning as they gazed across the alien-like landscape of balancing rocks and dramatic mineral-enriched boulders. "The Apaches have a tribal government, and many of our traditions, which were almost lost, are experiencing a reawakening and a reappreciation from my father's generation all the way to yours. We have lost some of the teachings from our ancestors, but enough have been retained in memory, teaching, and written word where we are learning the ways of God again. You mustn't let anyone, regardless of their color or tribe, distract you from this importance. The Creator must be placed in the foreground of everything. Otherwise, you forget days like this. Days when your eyes are wide open with an overwhelming acceptance of what is, where faith has little room for doubt." "Mama sometimes calls the Creator the Great Spirit, Grandfather." Usin is what we call him." "Yes, I know, but I called the Creator the Great Spirit once at school, and some of my white friends made fun of me." Elton looked at the horizon and blinked slowly in contemplation. "Do your friends believe in God?" "Rebecca and Erica do. I think Annie is an atheist something. She just believes in science." Elton smiled warmly, the caressing sun shining on his face and silver long white hairs. "I think you mean she's an atheist. That means she does not believe in a creator." He paused, still staring at the messes, "at least in theory. Science is nothing to consider a wall with your talks with your friends, Blue Jay. In fact, it is always a bridge, because all science is an observable, disputable realm where we finally agree and discuss what is reality to our five senses. How can that be a realm only the atheist can claim for his or her own? Usin made this place, and that includes every atom and observable thing time and space can spread before our table. He picked up a small stone and sent it bouncing off a hoodoo statue carved from the ancient winds. As for your other two friends who believe in a God, if they too believe in a science which assists their faith, then that also only helps healthy discussions amongst relaxed comrades, where honesty is revered over human ego. I suppose they see words like great and spirit as naive or even primitive. But look at their own language, the language of their organized churches. A Holy Ghost describes an invisible something not easily understood, not even by their priests and pastors. A ghost sounds like Halloween to me. And what is so embarrassingly different from a heavenly Father and a Father Sky? A Mother Earth, Mother Mary, Muhammad, Jesus,
Vishnu. They are all names. That's all. Some have walked this earth, some are eternal spirits. No matter how educated or smart a person becomes, he ends up using labels, words that are only intended to help describe something we see, hear, or feel, or things we cannot but know are there. Sometimes it is a reptile, sometimes just a stick. Think about this the next time your religious and scientific friends make fun of our own prophets and shamans, or make fun of our phrases. What sounds more like a cartoon? The Great Spirit or the Big Bang? Blue Jay laughed, her long arms slapping her knees. Big Bang sounds like a breakfast cereal. Laughing louder than he had in a long time since taking on the rewarding yet arduous responsibility of raising an 8-year-old little girl, Elton joined his granddaughter, slapping his own legs. It does, with too much sugar. He took her small hand. Come on, I want you to see some caves near here. I used to explore them all by myself when I was about your age. Moontree Rune, the Wagdigger family, and all the other Ifs followed the captains until they reached a long corridor usually only scouts and captains used or were aware of. It was so narrow, every last If had to follow single file, even the crawling toddlers. We are about to go above ground, Rune said to the Wagdiggers. It should be dark enough for no hurt to our eyes, but squint and shield them anyways. All of the captains halted the company, instructed the Ifs within earshot to pass the message on behind them. They were in a small room at the end of a tunnel, which could only hold 20 Ifs. Above them, above some rocks fashioned like stairs from years gone by, they could perceive a small opening, and through that opening, they could see some twinkling New Mexican stars. A few of the Ifs, the younger ones, had not yet even seen a glimpse of the heavens before, and so gasps of wonder and pleasure and astonishment rippled throughout the tiny room. They look like the eyes of glowfish, one young one whispered with excitement. Only so many more, another whispered. Salomon pointed his long staff to the bottom of the stairs and slowly let the regal stick trace the steps until he froze it, directing it to only the open portal. That's where we're going, one by one, slowly, so no one gets rubbed or hurt. There will be no rushing about in this adventure, people. Spread the word behind. We all stick together, and once in the above lands, there will be no shouting, no talking. Again, spread this to those behind us. No matter how quiet you think you can be, no sounds will be uttered whatsoever. Parents, I'm begging you to make this crystal transparent to your little ones. If we can remain as alert as the bats, we will make it to the great caverns the humans call Carlsbad. Then we can burrow deep again into those parts of the caves even their best diggers are incapable of finding. Come now. In a few days, we can begin building our new homes. As the large band of knobby-headed Ifs poked and prodded their way into the hoodoo night, a huge swarm of Mexican free-tailed bats burst from another opening from the caverns nearby. The bats stayed ahead of the migrating tribe, but only a little ways. These bat friends were on the lookout for any sign for potential threats or trouble. Back inside the tunnel, once all the ifs received their mouth-to-ear instructions, Cooler asked Rune why they could not even make as much as a whisper in the above lands. Many of the tall ones have governance and comradeship with cousins to wolves and coyotes. Though the wolf and coyote remain distrustful for the most part, these humanly domesticated cousins have learned dependence on the tall one's ties. I've seen enough of them to know their sense of hearing and smell are close to their kin from the wild. One small peep heard to them is like a shout to us. The captains wish us to get to the new caves unsniffered and uneardrummed. Once there, we can talk and sing again and laugh. Cooler and Little Owlite gave a short purr and then went very quiet. Rune purred back for a second, as did Moontree. The Wagdigger parents forced smiles, trying to hide the worry in their eyes. That's the end of chapter 4. Now we'll continue with chapter 5, which is called Range Rovers. All things have inner meaning and form and power. Hopi proverb. Miles away, a few weeks later, Elton was again out in the lowlands of uninhabited New Mexico desert lands with his granddaughter. He taught her of life's lessons during these hikes, and she probably learned more on them than any of her years in the school system. Look at that, Blue Jay. There's your namesake. It was a lone blue jay bird pecking away at a small dead animal. Wait and listen. Soon the bird flitted to a light scrub branch just above the lifeless prairie dog. He had a strip of flesh in his beak and quickly gobbled it down. He paused, tucked his head to scratch under his right wing a few short stabs, and then suddenly looked up to the horizon. Intent on his gaze, he began a series of raucous calls and high, hoarse screeches. He's calling for his friends, said the old man. Wait and see now. Blue Jay and Elton waited a few minutes, and sure enough, 4 more blue jays joined their friend on the branches of the creosote bush. Then he popped off his little branch to return to his discovery, only to be joined by the other jays. All 5 birds made short order of the fresh carcass within the half hour until all were satisfied. One by one, they left the small, now skeleton, visible body, its meat all pecked away. These blue jays can imitate the cry of a hawk and other birds, but the screech of sharing is never misunderstood or meant to fool. We survive by sharing, Blue Jay commented slowly with definite thought. Yes, just as our ancestors have for countless generations, Blue Jay. Even on our reservations, we still know this as a sacred trust. Life is not easy on the res, but somehow, year after year, survive. Remember the lesson of your namesake, little Blue Jay. Someday, who knows? It may help you and your friends. Come now, let's go back to those boyhood caves of mine again. I want to show you something. The petroglyphs Elton showed Blue Jay were for the most part never seen by wilderness or state officials. They were deep within these boyhood caves Elton and some of his friends visited often while growing up. There were sun pictographs, hand and body petroglyphs, masks, human faces, ancient drawings of snakes, lizards, horses, coyotes, bighorn sheep, and so on. There were also mysterious shapes and designs he nor any of his friends could decipher. Some looked like large-headed aliens from planets far away with large cartoon-like eyes. Others were abstract shapes, and his friends theorized over them, but with no conclusive interpretations. "See this one, Blue Jay?" spoke Elton as they ventured deeper within one of the small caves with their flashlights. "It looks to be a snake until you notice the 4 tiny legs. No doubt a lizard or a salamander of some kind." "What's this one?" Blue Jay asked, venturing a bit further than her grandfather had wished her to. "That has to be human, but possibly in spirit form," Elton said with some doubt. He remembered it as he squeezed past a tight wall to join his granddaughter. The years had given him a small gut that long ago. The years had given him a small gut that long ago gave him no trouble to this entrance. Memories returned of his friends seated around the image, debating its symbology. It was the one with the big eyes. Elton had always thought it was a cruder representation of a mountain Apache spirit dancer, and he let Blue Jay in on his guess. "See the lines coming from his head? I think that's a sign of holiness or special powers." Blue Jay knew about these dancers and what significance they held to her people. "One of my friends," continued her grandfather, "said he thought it was a man from Mars." Elton laughed. The sun was going down fast, and the cave with the spirit art was getting dangerously dark. They made their way back to their truck and apologized to Nellie for being an hour late for supper. "Aliens kept us on their ship too long," giggled Blue Jay. "I guess they feel a need to explore things too," quipped her grandmother. "Just as long as they left you with your appetites intact, I'm okay with that, I guess." By the second evening of the night hikes, the little Ifs grew tired and irritable. They were already missing the comforts of their straw and cloth beds, their cool rooms of rock, and the warm familiarity of their safe seclusion. But out in the outabouts, they began to get frightened. An uneasiness took over the large crowd as high-pitched yips from coyote packs and the hooting of strange owls echoed off the canyon and mesa walls. If the yips of the coyote intensified during a kill, often the children would run to a parent or a guardian, clinging to their robes for comfort. "The children are getting restless. They're impatient and rather fearful, Salomon," said Tupper, a chubby, middle-aged single If, who many considered somewhat of a shaman. "We can't do anything about the moods of anyone, Tupper. We can only wait this trek out to its conclusion," answered Salomon, doing his best to maintain a confident front. He tightened his robe belt. The two continued eating some edible cacti soaked in herb water. It was another day at school for Blue Jay. She couldn't wait to get through her last class before lunch. She watched the slow hands of the large black and white 50s-style clock on the wall of her classroom. For her grandfather promised her another outing several miles from their regular excursions. He had previously gotten permission for her to get out early, midday, for this special day. They had explored the petrified logs, the tower fence, cracked eggs, Devil's Garden, Mushroom City, and all the rock formations that look like strange humanoid creatures and abstract art statues. Hoodoos and ziggurats in the beastie Badlands, and wilderness never got old or tedious, and the new discovery of one was common. But today Elton was taking Blue Jay further south to places even he had never explored. Even here, there were wonderful formations of rocks and mesas, but they were off so many beaten pathways they appeared more dangerous than they actually were. We're not too far from Albuquerque, Blue Jay. After exploring a few of these mysteries, your grandmama gave us permission to camp out at a hotel where we can dip in one of those nice swimming pools before heading back. The old Ford pickup rumbled along Highway 550 until they stopped for their first venture. Even though they weren't very far from the dense concentration of pueblos in the Chico National Historic Park, they were indeed in no man's land. The Chaco Canyons cut into their highway pullover, but they were far from any sort of tourist activity whatsoever. They were where Elton liked it best, where only the coyotes and prairie dogs hid. Elton would take Blue Jay to the park itself another time, for it contained an astounding collection of ancient decay. No place north of Mexico had more early ruins. We will visit that place another time. One of my favorite places was Fajada Butte, but tourists were so disrespectful, they started eroding everything that was beautiful there. I've seen such disrespect everywhere where I see the ancients who left their petroglyphs and pictographs. Idiots with their spray cans disrespecting their own ancestors and the spiritual representations they imply. The two of them brought plenty of water and food. It was mid-September and hot, about 99 degrees in the shade, and there was little shade to be found where they headed. But Elton saw some buttes ahead. Buttes he had always noticed on his road trips to the larger cities. He would tell himself, someday I'm going to hike those miles and see what it's like over there. And now with his own grandchild as his companion, one who shared his zeal for discovering the mysterious and sometimes mystical, he could do it without feeling too lonely. He knew he'd have to make it a brief trip. He got Blue Jay out of school on this Good Friday, but he did not plan on making it back to the old Ford in the dark. Rattler, he said when they were halfway to the dark-shadowed, ominous buttes. Blue Jay froze. See it? Just beyond those bushes. But she couldn't see the snake. Don't worry, he's too far ahead. We'll go around him this way. In general, the Apaches never felt too friendly or comfortable with rattlesnakes. In fact, they were seen as bad omens for obvious reasons. Not a reptile you would encourage living in your backyard, that's for sure, but Elton respected the tale. The ability and want of the snake to make its metallic rattle loud enough to warn an unsuspecting hiker, horse, or coyote to stop and consider backing away. In this case, a very fat snake of rattle blood was very slowly sliding across the flat sands, enough for Elton's keen eyes to pick up. Once they started back upon the beeline of the antelope-trodden trail, Blue Jay looked back, but she still could not see any snake, nor any movements. Oh, don't worry, Blue. Your old granddad hasn't lost his senses yet. He picked up a small, sharp stone and threw it in the direction of the rattler. It hit him in his midsection, and he started his maraca-like alarm. It was then Blue Jay could see the movement of its fierce, shaking, dried, chrysalis-like hind end aiming vertical like a torch. Grandfather, why did so many people kill so many animals they are afraid of? She asked as they meandered on the mountain deer and antelope pounded trail. I think some people have a difficult time imagining a wolf or a rattlesnake does not wish to harm us, Blue Jay. Some think if you kill something that has the ability to kill them, they are saving their own lives. But both the wolf and the snake kill disease-carrying mice and rats. They help the chain. They warn us when we get too near. They down the weakest of buffalo or deer, leaving the strong ones to carry on healthier bloodlines. The circle our ancestors taught us to respect is disrupted by such fearful people. Many of the modern white man's attitudes are that of being controllers in a way. They have to control everything. They have to conquer everything. They have to be in charge over everything, everybody, every living thing. Look what they did to our people. Not just the Apache, but every single indigenous people on this continent. Some of our last leaders and fighters, like Geronimo, never felt right about the control and enslavement to their ways we witnessed not so very long ago. But, dear bird, you know what happened. You know how history played itself out. It was accept the betrayals of the treaties, be led to the res, or be extinguished. Our ancestors were the bravest of people, but also they were wise. You and I, and your grandmother, your parents, and your beautiful cousin Lark, we are alive today because Geronimo gave in to the power struggle, to the controlling conceit of the invaders. They had more guns and steel than we did. They killed many of us with germ warfare. They had ruthless thievery and ambitions. They pumped us with and addicted us to their alcohol. Hold on. Hey. No. Oh, that's Sally. Sally, stop it. Okay. Sorry about that. Where was I? Others and other tribes, too, saw how we would all become as extinct as the West African black rhino if people like Sitting Bull hadn't surrendered to these poachers. It's sad looking at our proud history and compare it with our present-day struggles. But if we are anything, Blue Jay, and we are a lot of things, we are survivors. We still are here. No one can threaten us again. And my fervent hope is someday we will have a native in the White House and that he or she will set things to the righteous order once again, where the circle of nature and love for all beings will be restored. Whoa, look, we're almost there. What say we take a water break? They sat on a high, almost finger-like pointing boulder where they could get a better view of the sprawling buttes they were about to eagerly explore. Blue, look over there. See the shadows playing tricks? Those are caves. Oh, boy. This is going to be fun. Sally went to her perch. She was getting into trouble over there. While the Ifs slept most of the daylight hours in whatever concealed rock shadows or caverns that they could, the scouts took shifts to keep a watchful eye over the perimeters of their people. If anything suspicious or the slightest threat stirred, whether from animal or human, salmon and sungills were woken. But since they kept their trek to absolute wilderness, such awakenings were rarely needed. On one day, however, several IF road vehicles made their way across the hot northwestern New Mexico desert. Two large four-wheelers with two desert motorcycles drove through in tandem, kicking up dirt and making loud noises the local fauna were not used to hearing. The driver of the largest vehicle, a recent model 1987 Range Rover, was Harvey Hartman, a real estate broker from Santa Fe. His 5 buddies were also from Santa Fe, but for one, Ricky Sutherland, he was from Los Alamos. They shared a passion for off-roading and camping in faraway, out-of-reach places. Their 9-to-5 jobs made it near impossible for their newfound addiction to the great outdoors, where they could forget all about sales and responsibilities at least once a month, no matter the season. Somehow, they always found a way to get out and get away from the cities. They met in various ways, some as customers to another store, some as real estate clients, and Ricky and Harvey were old high school chums. For the past 3 years, they kept their routine alive. You know, I keep the garbage under wraps but hey, it's Sally again. No, it isn't. Hey, cut it out. Hey, Stanley, stop it. I don't know why the cats are restless tonight. I fed them like I usually do. Okay, where was I? Sorry about that. I lost my place. Okay, they met in various ways. For the past 3 years, they kept their routine alive. Each one of them loved bikes, so they took turns driving the four-wheel drive trucks and riding the motorcycles alongside as they made their way to various campsites and parks. They communicated by sophisticated radio, CB walkie-talkie types in the SUVs, and remote earphones with wraparound mics in the helmets for whoever was riding the two-wheelers. That mess over there looks like a good spot, Kip, a sporting goods salesman, announced from one of the bikes. Yeah, chimed in Chico Flores from the other bike. Looks good to me. Chico was a stay-at-home dad who broke even with his bills by playing the stock market on the side, all on his computer whenever he could. Harvey clicked the button to his handheld CB microphone. I'm hungry as a taco-starved Mexican at a Weight Watchers convention. Let's head there. I heard that, clicked in Chico. That's why I said it, chuckled Harvey. When they got there, Harvey corrected Kip. More a butte than a mesa. And this one's a butte of a butte. Look at the elevation of them walls. Bo Eichstad, a tattoo-riddled weightlifter who managed a KFC in Santa Fe, started digging into the back of the Rover. Everyone grab your own stuff. I brought the chicken. Ain't gonna babysit you all besides. The 6 men set up their lawn chairs, opened the cooler full of beers, and began chowing down while watching the sun begin to slip behind some thick clouds. The conversations drifted from their dreams of business successes to their collective girlfriends or wives or singlehood, singlehood being the case for Johnny Berg, the struggling musician. Harvey was always perfunctory to give advice, whether petitioned or not, on get-rich-quick ploys, as his best friend Ricky was part and parcel to a new pyramid scheme Harvey was well into. Ricky was brand new to it. And the others were getting tired when their good conversations turned into advertisements for their side hobby of health juice sales. Ricky Sutherland owned a used car truck lot specializing in four-wheel all-terrain vehicles. Oh, for fuck's sake, please, cried Johnny, rolling his eyes. Can I please enjoy Bo's chicken without hearing one more goddamn word from you two about that green sludge with the long waiting lines again? Ain't no waiting line, Johnny, Ricky defended while working his fourth beer. I just happened to have my first check in today's mail. Bona fide proof in my wallet. He patted his bulging left butt cheek. Let me see it, chirped Johnny, jumping up in the middle of their small circle. Why, you don't believe me? Why not? Of course I believe you. I just want to see the bank. Make sure it's bona fide, laughed Johnny. Ricky waved his meaty hand at Johnny and kept pulling some flesh from a drumstick with his big teeth, his big, round, hairless head wagging left and right. Johnny wouldn't let it go. Come on! What's there to hide? Shaw, 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 Ricky gurgled between a gulp of beer. Get this guy off my back, will someone? I got paid and it isn't even the end of the month yet. Chico spoke up. Just show it to him, Ricky. Then we can move on to setting up camp. It's getting dark. No way. If he don't believe me, then he can just suck my big fat dick. Ooh, Rick's true feelings for Johnny came out under the buttes. Romance at last, laughed Bo. While Ricky ready to return the barb, Johnny made for Ricky's pants, trying to get a hold of his wallet. Hey! I think they're in love, Chico said in his thickest, self-exaggerated south-of-the-border accent. Next thing they knew, Ricky and Johnny were kicking up the desert dust just as the sun once again peeked from the edge of the cloud blankets. At last, Johnny got a good hold of his friend's ass cheek and with his other free hand wedged the tight leather pouch out from the jean pocket. It's not so much the bank, Johnny whispered to himself, running several yards away. Ah, here. Immediately he began to laugh loudly. He laughed so hard he dropped the wallet with its contents, but managed to hang on to the crisp check. Give me that back, shouted Ricky. What, you want your check back for $3.97? All the men but Ricky and Harvey joined in the good laugh. But even Harvey couldn't help fighting off a compressed grin. Okay, Johnny boy, you've had your fun, said Harvey. Give Rick his wallet back. And Ricky, don't look so embarrassed. You know what its net worth and potential growth market is. Then we'll see who gets the last laugh. Johnny neatly placed the check back into Ricky's wallet after blowing away as much dust out of it that he could. Took you how long to make this much, Ricky? 3 months or so? He said, still giggling. Hey, Mr. Starving Artist, I just put a down payment on a houseboat with my last check. So I'd put a lid on it if I were you, Mr. Lived in his parents' basement only recently, shouted Harvey. Sure, boss. Hope your debt ceiling stays high enough for all of those down payments for what it's worth. Now the sun was heading behind some other mesas and buttes in the distance, and the six quickly scrambled to get their tent gear up. Chico and Bo proceeded to gather wood for a campfire. Those two, said Bo. Which two? Said Chico. Those two. especially Harvey and Johnny. I get tired of their little passive-aggressive squabbles all the time. Don't you sense the tension? The envy, even? Yeah, I see it, Vato. With Johnny, of course, no girlfriend to speak of, no real job, living in that flea-bitten studio. And Harvey, he doesn't help. He taunts, he teases. He can be a real prick sometimes. Once the tents were set up, it was clear Johnny and Ricky had made up. It was back to good buddy conversation when Chico noticed a silhouette dart across the barely glimmering sunset. It dashed towards the large butte they were now so close to. Coyote! Where? Asked Harvey. Straight behind the big boulder by that desert willow, off a few yards to the left, said Chico. Harvey got up and walked over to his truck. He opened the back and pulled out his Remington 700 BDL. You're not going to kill it, Harvey, said Johnny. Course I am. Why? You sensitive girl's going to stop me? He walked a few feet away from the fire, slowly lifted the butt of the rifle to his right shoulder, set his left elbow on a 4-foot rock, and steadied his nerves for the aim. He pulled, and the trigger clicked. The bullet sailed with a loud crack and met its mark. A shrill, sharp, shallow yelp sounded from the canine's throat, echoing across the nearby canyon. The large coyote, almost the size of a medium-sized wolf, was sent skidding on its side for several feet before the mouth of a small crevice. Blood went gushing from its mouth as the bulky, wild dog twitched and writhed until finally going still. Inside the crevice, 2 large eyes stared at the poor creature while the blood seeped into the sand and stained his feet. Bullseye! Shouted Harvey, his voice echoing like the coyote's. Harvey's friends walked up to him. Ricky patted his back. Said something about what a great marksman he was. But Bo and Chico, and especially Johnny, were nonplussed, to put it mildly. Why'd you do that? You had absolutely no reason to do that, Harvey, Johnny chided bitterly. Johnny, there's too many of them to begin with. That pelt's gonna make someone's woman here look like $1 million. And you know what else, Johnny boy? It was fun. That's why. Meanwhile, Moontree was relaying the event to Salaman just before disembarking for another night trek south. We'd better stay in these small caves another day or two, at least until those moving boxes leave, counseled Salaman. Everyone was warned to stay hidden and more quiet than ever. The next morning, Harvey and Ricky walked over to the stretching Hoodoo Buttes where their prey lay waiting. You want him, Rick? Nah, not really. I can't do anything with a smelly old fur like that. Hey, what are these flowers doing here? Huh, responded Harvey as the two left the coyote where they found him. I don't know. Must have been the wind. It's a good place. It's a good place to stop for tonight. Let's hear it for a good. Let's have a good. That's a good stop sound. Doesn't that sound like a stop? Okay. I gotta get a pen because last time I didn't leave a mark where. Here we go. There's a little dot. There we go. Now I know exactly what. I'm pretty sure I started off where I left off last time, but it does help to have a little mark. I hope you're enjoying my reading of Obligated Whisper. You can get it, the paperback version, on Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com, go under books, type in Peter Gullerud, Obligated Whisper, you'll find it. But I really recommend the hardcover version. It's so much nicer. It's like another $10 or something. And you can get that on lulu.com, Lulu.com. And you'll easily find it. Just type in Obligated Whisper on Lulu. Or the best way to get either of these, actually, I even think I put it up as an ebook. Yes, I did, on Amazon. All 3 links. Best place to go is gullerudbooks.com. Just go to gullerudbooks.com. And thanks for joining me tonight.